I am still buying Beam as of right now, even though that's not financial advice. Some people may think I'm crazy for doing that, but let me explain why I don't think it's crazy for me. Because keep in mind, right? Beam has gone down so much in price to the point that as of right now, the price is very similar to the point that it had back in late 2023. I mean, just think about that. We kind of haven't really seen these prices in basically over a year. I mean, really think about it, right? Back in, late 2023, the prices were very similar to what we see as of right now. This is kind of insane. When Beam had that major pump, a lot of people were saying, oh, wow, we can't believe we missed out on it. Take a look at what happened, this and that. But really, now the price is very similar to before it had that pump, right? And now people are saying that it's suddenly a bad project. Well, I just disagree with that. Keep in mind, a dollar is currently around a 173x from here. I'm going to just let that sink in. Now, I'm not guaranteeing it's going to happen. However, even just reaching the price of 50 cents, that's still over an 80x from here. And that's kind of crazy to think about, really. But even besides that point, the way I view it is that when it comes to Beam, going to the price of a dollar doesn't even seem that crazy anyways, because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $50 billion. Still over $30 billion less than Dogecoin's all-time high market cap, over $50 billion less than BNB's all-time high market cap, even over $50 billion less than even XRP's current market cap, and we're not even in a fully fledged bull run yet, so I don't think this is too crazy in my opinion at least, even though nothing I say is financial advice. The way you take a look at it is that when it comes to something like Beam, I just don't think it's going to disappear. Once the market picks up again, once the bull run is really in fifth gear, this could be a totally different story, which is why I'm still sticking with my strategy, dollar cost averaging, anytime at income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, because as long as blockchain gaming still has a bright future, I think Beam will have a future as well. It's only logical. Beam is considered by many as being one of these premier projects in the blockchain gaming space. And if you take a look at it, right, one of the most popular things when it comes to Beam is something called the Beam SDK. And SDK stands for Software Development Kit. Now, this is amazing because allegedly what this does is that it allows game developers to choose from a variety of tools that can be used to fuel and structure their in-game blockchain elements. Now, you got to think about why Beam, something that is specialized for gaming, in my opinion, going to be so massive, especially with these components. It's because if you take a look at blockchain gaming, right, the market could be so massive, at least predicted to, according to Grandview Research. By 2030, again, Grandview Research does predict that the blockchain gaming market is expected to be worth over $300 billion. Not over 300 million. Well, technically it is over 300 million, but I'm just saying figure of speech wise, right? This is not around 300 million. This is over $300 billion by 2030, at least predicted to. That's bigger than some countries' GDP. I mean, we got to let that sink in. This is how amazing something like Beam is in terms of what market it's focused on. I mean, it's really fantastic in my opinion. And I don't think Beam is really a bad project. I mean, we got to think about this, right? Fundamentally speaking, what bad thing happened to Beam? I don't think anything really fundamentally bad happened to it. It's just the price is going down. A lot of people are panic selling, but even still, despite that, there's still currently around 70,000 holders. I mean, just let that sink in, around 70,000. That's still very good considering how much Beam is dumped and considering how much people have, sold their Beam, right? So, in my opinion, Beam is still holding pretty strong, relatively speaking. And keep in mind, there's many components when it comes to Beam. It's not just that, right? Beam, if we take a look at it, we have to take a look at how Beam is actually very diverse. First of all, there's something called Beam Swap, which is a decentralized exchange. So that's pretty cool, right? We take a look at Beam Layer 0 Bridge, a bridging solution to transfer tokens between Beam and other blockchains. There's also something called Sphere, which is an NFT marketplace. Now, not to be confused with like Sphere in Las Vegas, right? I'm talking about the Las Vegas Sphere, which looks really cool. However, even besides that, we take a look at Beam OS, a portal for exploring tools and apps on the chain, the Beam Block Explorer, which is a tracking platform for all Beam transactions and statistics. Now, this is all very cool and stuff, and people may think that, oh yeah, Beam's not interesting enough. It's not decentralized enough. No. Being interesting or not, that's debatable. That depends on people's personal preferences and tastes. However, when it comes to not being decentralized, I'm going to have to disagree on that because keep in mind, right? If we take a look at what launched or created Beam in the first place, it's something called the Merit Circle DAO. Now, what is a DAO, right? And what is Merit Circle? Again, Merit Circle is a name, and then DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Now, why is a DAO, again, a DAO, right? That's the acronym. But even besides that, why is this fantastic? It's because if we take a look at a DAO, it's pretty much as decentralized as something gets within this space as of right now, at least from what I've seen. Because keep in mind, when it comes to a DAO, it is an entity that is designed to be fully autonomous without a central point of control. The rules of a DAO are established by a core team of committee members and is executed through smart contracts. And to obtain voting power in DAO, users are usually required to own its governance token. So in this case, anyone who does hold Beam can vote. So it's really cool. The way you take a look at a DAO is like, those self-driving, ride-sharing service. It's like those self-driving taxis or whatever. You know what I mean? They look really cool, right? It's kind of like a DAO. It functions like, sort of in a decentralized manner. It drives itself and, it's just really awesome. But again, it still has kind of a control point in a sense that in this case, when it comes to a DAO, it's executed through smart contracts. The way you take a look at those self-driving taxis is that like, it's basically executed through like software, right? Through data and all this. So again, it kind of reminds me of something like that. I know it's a little bit different in terms of the analogy. It's not like exactly accurate, but still, it just reminds me of something like that. So that's the real life equivalent to a DAO if I were to, let's say, make one up, right? However, even besides that, Beam is very special in my opinion. I think the bull run, generally speaking, is still far from over. Usually we do know that altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year. So actually 18 months from then is actually around October this year. Again, this is based off of history as a worst case scenario. Each cycle, I'm totally aware that it's going to be different. This time around, could it be different from all the previous cycles that we saw? Maybe, but I just don't see why altcoins won't recover, let's say as May, June, July comes along. The reason being is because we've seen this time and time again. Again, even though history isn't always going to repeat itself, but we can only go based off that because, of course, how can we look into the future? However, even besides that, again, back in 2021, during that March and April time, things look a little bit boring. Who knew that months later, Dogecoin was going to reach over $80 billion in market cap? Shiba Inu was going to reach around $40 billion. Who knew that was going to happen? Now, granted, I'm pretty sure some people kind of predicted that, especially the fans for Dogecoin and Shiba Inu, but it wasn't like 98% of the crypto owners at that time thought that was going to happen. If that was the case, then everyone would have probably FOMO'd into that, right? But I'm just saying, who knew that was going to happen, like just as a figure of speech? Like not many people, in my opinion. So the way you take a look at it is that as of right now, it kind of reminds me of that moment. It kind of reminds me of like when things are a little bit boring, but really in the world of cryptocurrencies, things can wake up sometimes very quickly. It's like, for instance, Beam, when it was doing kind of bad for quite a while, it also woke up very quickly, right? And also went down very quickly. But as equally as that did happen in terms of the pace of it, I think it's also in the opposite direction. So as quickly as the sentiment changed in kind of not a good direction when it comes to the sentiment, again, when it comes to the price of Beam, once it goes up again, I think people are going to say, oh, wow, it's bullish and all this. They may say that a dollar is bearish, all this. Again, it could be a totally different story, which is why I'm still staying patient. And again, I'm just not giving up. I think better days are ahead. I'm staying patient again, and I'm paying attention to near the end of this year. And a dollar, that's still my price target for Beam during this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.